Welcome to McGowan's Canvas Miracles. We're here today with Mayor Adam Lordon. Thank you for coming in. He's a master painter, been doing it for never.
I just said to you before we came on air here, I've recently painted my dining room.
Yeah.
That's about as close as I might have gotten to
after this, you're going to be dying.
Talent.
You'll be saying, oh, sign me up for lessons and having a good time.
Well, it will indeed be a canvas miracle if what I create actually looks good.
Turns into
Rob.
something?
Yeah.
Well, and the best part is we're going to be painting a lot with this.
Okay.
Not much of a brush, is
A little spatula or something. I'm more, my skill, I'm good in the kitchen, but here we go with at the painting table.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great. So you've been mayor a long time. How long have you been mayor for now?
Yeah, it's hard to believe. 9 years.
9 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And still enjoying it. Still loving getting up, doing it every day.
Absolutely. Well, it's you're never going to run out of things to do, right? Of opportunities to make things better, of challenges that the community faces, and a lot's changed in those 9 years. Like when I came in, we were a shrinking community, a declining community in population, and over the last few years now, we're a community who's growing and becoming more diverse and having more opportunities in front of us than we ever could have imagined a decade ago. So it is an exciting time. The context has changed, but the passion is definitely still there.
Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of changes over the city. First, we're going to start off, we're going to change this white canvas.
Okay.
Because if you're going to paint, you got to have something to actually get going. So we'll put a little dot of some yellow paint here.
There you go. And congratulations to you, by the way, Rob, on the new show. Here we are in the hollowed studio that Judy and Veronique held down the fort for a lot of years in the community. You got big shoes to fill here.
Oh, I know. Wow. I'll never fill those shoes. Hopefully we'll do something a little different because those guys are great and the stuff they do for the community is amazing.
But it's nice to continue to have a community television presence here with someone like yourself who's making sure Miramichiers know what's going on around the community.
So the first thing we're going to do is take this palette knife.
Okay.
And we're going to have some fun. We're just going to smear some of this orange paint along the bottom like this here. Getting it going from side to side.
All the way to the edge, I see.
Yeah, and if you don't have enough, grab a little of the orange above from your top one.
Okay.
And then you're going to move up into the yellow. Continue up, smearing it. And we're going to move all the way up the page. So when you got into, decided to get involved with politics.
Yeah.
What inspired you? There was something you wanted to see, want to make a difference, like everybody. What was your main purpose, your idea behind it?
Folks that might not be familiar, my mom was on the council before I was. She was the first female deputy mayor in the city's history.
Yeah.
And I used to come home. I was living in Toronto, doing my professional career as a TV producer myself and director, so I'm familiar with this world, and used to come home and help her with her campaigns. I think we've always both been passionate about trying to make a positive difference in the community, and I came home when she got unfortunately sick with cancer, and when she passed, I at first just ran to finish the 1 year that was left on her term, and I realized I could get involved and be on council and still do my career, stay home and still do what I love to do professionally. So that's what I decided to do. And really for me, coming back from Toronto, just seeing all the beauty.
So just make sure when you come up with the orange, connect it. So
there we go.
As you go up, you hit the orange, just move right up with your knife and keep continuing all the way up. Yeah.
Blend it.
There we go.
We really weren't quite yet acting like a city living in modern times. So, there was a lot of new ways of doing things that were emerging out there that, we were a little slow to adapt to. And I just saw the beauty and potential. And for me, one of my big passions at the beginning was renewing our public spaces so that we have great, beautiful public spaces for people to gather in the community, get together. And also that's a way to attract tourism and attract people to live here. And really, the challenge of the moment over the last few years, which will continue, has been attracting people to choose Miramichi as their home and building housing as quickly as we can to be able to have housing for the people we need to attract. So, those and we've proven quite successful in those endeavors. I'm telling you.
We've seen a lot of houses, apartments going up, and but apparently we still have quite the shortfall. So you're going to take your brush now
Yeah.
and just put a little water on, and on the top you can just sort of blend in that bit. Just take your fat brush.
My
looks like
fat
this here.
brush, okay.
One thing we've done is we have some beautiful landscapes in Miramichi now. When you go to the waterfront park and downtown square and stuff, the parks are absolutely stunning. I mean, Miramichi, every morning I go up and watch sunrise and write poetry and do things like that. And just to be able to go in some of these parks is beautiful. So I have seen a huge impact in
Well, it's important, you know, to me, like the state of our public spaces is a reflection on the state of the community as a whole. So, you know, we want to, if we have public spaces that we're not properly maintaining and everything looks a little run down, I think that's going to affect our perception of ourselves. And in the inverse, when we have beautiful public spaces that invite us to come down, I think that enhances the community. People are encouraged to get out and become part of the community, get involved in things that are happening, and it really is good for everyone. So it's something that over the course now of being there for 9 years, we've renewed most of the public spaces. And you know, we've got big plans to continue those renewals, especially along the waterfronts, which, you know, will happen in multiple phases over the next few years.
Okay. Now, one thing we had talked about, being your last lecture, we talked about some of the pathways and stuff, maybe going around our waterfront to be able to show some of it off. How are we on the progress of that kind of stuff?
So the active transport, you mean the trails?
Yes.
Active
yeah.
transportation? Yeah, well, you know, I'm really pleased with the progress we've made there too. Like a few years ago now, we developed an active transportation plan, and I'm going to tell you now, 9 years into the job, the way you get things done is never in a hurry, and it's never one thing at a time. So you have to build a plan. You consult the community. So like most of our plans with the active transportation plan, we consulted the community, asked them what they wanted to see. We know we're behind many other places like Fredericton and Caracat in terms of trail development. Mm-hmm. So we asked them what they want to see. The experts built us a plan, and then we have to commit to doing the plan. And over the last few years, you know, the basis of the plan is what they call the river loop. So it's extending the shoulders along the King George Highway and Water Street so that we can safely get all the way around the river on it, you know, by walking, on a bike, with a stroller.
Yeah.
And so we did all of the north side of the river a couple years ago now.
Okay.
2 years ago, we actually did a big chunk of paved trail down from the Rod Hotel in Chatham down the waterfront there, almost to Middle Island. And now we've started connecting from Chatham up to Bushville.
Okay.
So phase one of the southern spine of that river loop.
Awesome.
So we've good progress and plenty more to go. And that's really just the basis. And then we can sort of thread it out from there. But like all things, that, you know, you have to do it piece by piece. It takes time, but you got to stay committed.
Yeah, that's true. So down here on the bottom, we're going to take our brush and we're going to go in downward strokes, just halfway down the canvas.
Downward strokes. Okay. I think I need to.
No, you don't need any more paint.
Any more
You're good.
yellow?
No.
No. Okay. Oops. Sorry, Rob.
That's going to be covered in black after eventually.
Not listening to the teacher.
That's all right.
Penalty there.
Happens
and
a
you
lot.
want me to go down?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's downward strokes, about halfway down the canvas, downward. And this will just create the illusion of water later on as it dries.
Okay.
So now, another thing I was, this show we always tend to talk about sort of the cracks, the falling through, and being wintertime and cold. And I remember last year we had issues with the shelters and things. What do we have in place this year that we're working on?
Yeah, well, you know, it's something that we've seen in our community, like many other communities across the province and the country, unfortunately, is an increase in the visibility of homelessness and the number of people facing that challenge, particularly with the rising cost of living that we've seen over the last few years as well. And so credit to Miramichi Housing Solutions. I'm sure you're familiar with that organization.
Yes.
So they were formerly the Miramichi Youth House, and they have also taken on now a bigger mandate. They presently run the only permanent shelter in the community that's got six permanent beds, and they're running an out of the cold shelter, as they have the last couple of years over the winter, which has 15 temporary beds over the winter. But there's been some really exciting progress there, in that we've known for some time that we need more permanent shelter beds. And so I've worked with Miramichi Housing Solutions, the provincial government, and the federal government. Miramichi Housing Solutions proposed a new project to double the number of permanent beds. and the resources, the wraparound services that are really important. So when folks find themselves in the shelter, they need help, relearning how to get employment, getting, moving up to transitional housing and more permanent housing, and even with perhaps healthcare, for example. So they secured significant amount of funding to move into a new permanent shelter that will double the amount of beds and increase the resources available to folks to help them move beyond the shelter into a more permanent housing situation. So that'll come to fruition here in 2025, and that will make a big difference in helping to address the issue in the long term.
The provincial government has changed around. How has that affected the city and you guys in dealing with getting things done?
Well, I think we're optimistic about the changing government. The final period of the previous premier, I think he maybe fell into the trap that a lot of politicians fall into, which is over time you stop engaging with people and listening to what people need and thinking that you have all the answers yourself. And I think the people of New Brunswick didn't really appreciate that shift in his approach. We saw many of the members of his own party dropped out and left his cabinet, decided they didn't want to be a part of that anymore. And so I think it felt like a refreshing renewal for New Brunswick when we got those results. And as a city, as a municipality, the municipal reforms we've been going through over the last number of years, structurally they've made the changes, but they didn't finish the job of the fiscal reform. Since we've been there the last few years, we've gotten more and more responsibility, but no more additional funding to take care of the things that they've downloaded the responsibility for to us. So
you were saying there was quite a gap.
$200 million is what we've
wow.
identified. That's data. That's experts have crunched those numbers, and we're $200 million short, not as the city of Miramichi, but collectively as municipalities from what we should be receiving for the services we're mandated to provide. And so we're hopeful that the new government will finish the job and come to the table with that financing. And we're kind of hoping that it might come in the form of additional infrastructure support, because that's a big part of the gap, especially here in Miramichi. And a portion of the HST is ultimately what we're hoping to see happen as that come to us. Because property tax right now, we're extremely reliant on that as our only source of revenue, and we're looking to diversify those revenue streams. So preliminary conversations with the new government have been positive in that regard. And we did have good progress in other areas with the previous government too. And my approach and that of council is that we'll work with who's ever there to get as much done to better the community and address our needs as possible.
When you have a gap like that, how does that affect some of the new center that you want to put up and the things that are going on there? You say there's a shortfall in that as well.
Yeah, well, basically the province has this, they've put it in their fiscal reform documents that they pay for 1/3 of all municipal infrastructure, which is just absolutely not true. They do contribute to some projects, but if you looked at it from a percentage perspective, they're far from 1/3. We'd love to work towards that because, municipal governments are responsible for 60% of public infrastructure in the country. Okay. And we only receive 9% of the tax dollars. So infrastructure is very expensive to renew what we have and also to add in the new pieces that we require for the growth and development of the community. So with the multiplex, for example, we've been planning for years. It's the biggest project in the city's history. They together, the province and the feds, by the contract of the program that they created, they should have been paying for about 50% of that project, 50 to 60%. But they funded us less than the level that we would have asked for under the program, so we're now paying for 70% of that ourselves. That's a big chunk. Wow. So what that means is the multiplex is a need and will continue. That's on time, going to be finished in 2026. It's going to be transformative for the community, and we've had the ability to use some reserves that we've been saving for the project, but some other things now will not happen as quickly as they would have because there are only so many dollars, and we're not going to go back out and raise taxes. So we have to sort of be strategic in saying some of the things that we wanted to happen in the next year or two may take a bit longer to happen because we've got to allocate so much to the multiplex because we are structurally underfunded by the province.
We're going to paint a sun on here now. We're just going to take a little bit of white paint We're going to put a circle just above the halfway mark up here somewhere.
The sun is white, eh?
Yeah. In this painting, it's white.
In this painting, it's white.
We'll add a little color over the top later on, but we're going to start off with a white sort of center.
There we go.
So,
It's very
Miramichi,
Yeah.
we've been working on this bridge, I think, in my children's lifetime. It seems like forever. I've seen a lot of progress in the last couple of years, but it's going to be closing down for a bit, which is going to cause some issues, I would think, along our King George Highway and things like that. So how have you been dealing with that, and what businesses are saying, and how long do you think it'll be shut down for?
Well, lots to unpack there, Rob, and I feel like I apologize because I know I can be long-winded, but these are not easy questions.
No.
Right? And there are a lot of layers to it. And to your point, this project was supposed to be completely done by now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been multiple delays that have added up now to years worth of delays caused by two different successive governments, by the way. So we're not going to blame just one, but we'll blame a couple. But the project needs to be done. And at the end of the day, as we understand it, when they're finished, we'll get 50 more years out of our beloved Centennial Bridge. So the work to close the bridge, we're told, it's not finalized yet, a decision to close this year, a full closure, I should say. But we've been told to anticipate that. So the city is working on, right now, our mitigation plans for the services we're responsible to provide. So specifically fire and police, we think we'll have a temporary fire station of some sort over in Douglastown, because they would normally be served by Newcastle or Chatham, and it will be difficult for them to get there in a timely manner in either direction during that closure, right? Transit is another one where we're looking at making sure that we have transit resources in place so we can try to get cars off the road, encourage people to take transit because we know there'll be traffic congestion. And also, when the bridge closes, that includes the sidewalk. So folks that are usually accessing Chatham to Douglastown over the sidewalk, which is a lot of people, you know, who live in Chatham, for example, and walk to Douglastown for work or to access services. We know, for example, the Walmart is something that's really important because of the lower cost of goods there, right? So we've got to make sure that those folks still have a way to get to and from work and to access services. So those plans are being put together now by the city staff. They'll come to council and they'll be made public in terms of the mitigation. We know it's going to be disruptive for sure.
For sure.
And we know that businesses and citizens will also probably have to make adjustments, maybe work from home, travel during off-peak hours.
We'll be right back with Mayor Adam Lordon and McGowan's Canvas Miracles in a moment. Okay, we're back with McGowan's Canvas Miracles with Mayor Adam Lordon, and we've got a sun. He asked why the sun's white. I said, well, behind that fiery color, there's a big white base, something. We have to have a base. So Miramichi's base, how are we with all the housing that's come in? I think it was Veronique I was talking to on the city council, and she was saying that they had done 300 or 400, or don't quote me on the numbers, and then they were still, 500 or 600 still they needed to go to get to where we needed to be. So where do you project for housing and getting us there?
Well, you can quote me on the numbers, Rob.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are really excited about the progress we've been making. And I recently found out that Miramichi, we're actually, we needed this housing. So basically, nobody built much of anything for close to 30 years here, right? And the reason for that is we had a declining population for most of that period. But now, like most of the country, we find ourselves in an urgent need for housing, especially affordable housing. And we kind of identified that a few years ago now. And Miramichi was, to the credit of, council and staff, one of the first communities that understood as a municipality, we have a role to play here. We've got to get involved in helping get this housing built for the people who are here who need it and the people who aren't here yet who need to move in and who will need it. So yeah, I'm really proud to say in 2024, we had a record level of development, over 350 units. And before that, 2023 was an all-time record. So we are trending in the right direction, but we need about 1,000 new units from now until 2030. Okay. So we need to average about 200 to 250 a year. And we're trending above that right now, which is great. So we are on track to achieve the goal. and that's going to be really important for the long-term growth and development and prosperity of the community, because many of the folks that we need to move in here are actually people we need to move into our labor force. So 40% of the new workers that we need, again, from now till 2030, aren't here yet. So, and that's just for the existing businesses and the existing business landscape.
We have that much of a shortfall in business?
And that's because
what is our population growth? Like, how much have we expanded the last couple of years?
We're growing about 200 to 300 people a year right now, so it's modest growth. But again, when you compare that to consistent decline for 3 decades, that's a huge improvement. But it's because we've had a declining population. A lot of the young people were leaving, and to a degree still are, and an aging population. So we have sort of a demographic time bomb, and that's not just unique to Miramichi. That's the case for most smaller communities across Atlantic Canada and really across Canada. But I can tell you that we are doing very good at attracting new people and building the housing we need to be able to attract those people. So it's an immense challenge, but I'm proud of the success. Again, Miramichi is building housing at twice the average rate of communities across the country.
Oh, really?
And that was without receiving support from the Federal Accelerator Program, which we
So what have we done to
desperately
make
needed
that
as well.
possible? Are you lessening the red tape a bit? Like, what are you guys doing as a municipality to make it easier for builders to build here?
Well, I mean, there are a number of things that we've been doing. One is making sure people know that we have a need. So our need is the opportunity for developers, right? And we've got a couple of great people like Jesse Tucker, I'll give a shout out to him, Blair Martin in the community, that there are really a handful of people who are doing most of the building. And in doing that, they're also building, in a lot of these projects, a lot of new social housing, subsidized housing.
Okay.
And so Miramichi is also outpacing most of the rest of the province in new social housing unit developments, which means we're moving
So when you say
people,
social housing, does that mean it makes it affordable, brings down some of the rent in some of the places for people?
it's subsidized housing. So social development pays part of the rent for the folks that they have to pay a third of whatever their income is, and social development will subsidize the rest.
Okay.
And for a long time, not many of those units were being built in the community either. So that wait list for subsidized housing in the community is several hundred people, but we've meaningfully been able to get that wait list to decrease as well, in partnership with, again, the province and the feds in this case, in terms of building these housing. But we are making sure that people are aware of the need. We've developed our own incentive programs, and we'll give people city land as well and that's been a really successful program, making available surplus city property for multi-unit housing development.
And I see in other communities, like in Fredericton, they built a huge tiny home community, and as Miramichi looked at things like that and how it would impact the city.
Yeah, so the tiny home community in Fredericton, which is amazing and transformative, right? And the gentleman who built that project, Marcel Lebrun, is someone I've worked with in the past, and he's a brilliant entrepreneur who's also a philanthropist. So, that project in particular, he paid for most of that project himself. And that's really important in a community when you're trying to build housing, is you need to have people who are willing to come to the table. And I think that can be a model for the rest of the community, for communities across New Brunswick. But you do need, the city we aren't a developer, so we're there to support developers and help make their projects happen, help make sure they are aware of funding opportunities from other levels of government, but we ourselves aren't a developer. So, what the piece that we would require to pursue something like that are the Marcel. We need somebody that is willing to lead that project and make it happen. And there's been a couple of tire kickers in the community for sure. And, we've talked to them and we're willing to support their endeavors. Ultimately, they've got to put together their projects, and we'll be there to support them.
We know that Trudeau stepped down,
Yeah.
And the federal government.
Rob, I am not running to replace
Oh, okay,
Trudeau.
that was my next question. I was coming into.
That's your exclusive,
Are you-
okay? I've not told anybody else, but I can officially announce today with you that I will not be running to be the next Prime Minister of our country.
No, but what about, a little less, down the totem pole a little bit, working your way up? Have you thought about another run at that kind of thing?
It's something that's always in my mind right now. I've got about a year and a half left on my time as mayor, and I'm looking forward to finishing that time. There's a lot still to do. Developing a growth plan this year is something that I'm really looking forward to, so we can be even more strategic in the growth that we're seeing in our community, making sure it's happening in a good way. So, my passion for service and helping to make the community better has in no way diminished, and I would certainly, be open-minded to opportunities at different levels in the future, if that makes sense, in terms of where I am in my life. And of course, then you've got to ask the community, you got to ask the voters if they would like you to represent them. So something certainly in the future that I would be open-minded to, but no active plans for anything beyond the rest of my time here as mayor.
I guess the city really doesn't have nothing to do with the Anderson Bridge and that area out there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have anything to do with either of the bridges, actually, other than planning, advocating for the projects to be completed. They're both years delayed. Advocating for, a new alternative route. So, we talk about the need for, right now we just have one road from Newcastle to Douglastown.
Oh yeah, the bypass, you see the signs up on both sides all the time, but really my opinion is we need a bypass, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a bypass. The language I like to use is that we need a secondary route. We need another road from Newcastle
to alleviate some of the
Douglastown.
traffic on the King
because
George.
it's not even really related to the bridge. The King George Highway is already at capacity. If you drive the King George Highway, it's congested almost all the time. Yeah. And that's right now. And we've got hundreds of units of housing that are being built right now on that road, more commercial development, the multiplex going up in Douglastown. We need a secondary route for the long-term growth and development and public safety of Miramichi. And we need that to happen as soon as possible. So we're going to continue to advocate for that too.
I notice now that we have a lot more people working from home.
Yeah.
And my real question is about businesses. So as I'm driving down the King George and different places, I see tons of housing, tons of people coming in. What is the city doing to help sort of draw businesses? Like why build in Miramichi? How you guys are making it an incentive to say, yeah, come here, build here? Really,
the way we do that is with different people. It's more like you come to us. We know sort of the range of things we can offer. And if you've got an idea or a project for a new business development or an expansion, we'll work with you and see what we can do and offer you, and we'll help you make sure you know what's available to you from other levels of government too. So, for example, the cannabis company that a few years ago, they had looked at several places around New Brunswick, and they liked what Miramichi could offer, so they chose to be here, and that's created a couple dozen full-time jobs in an old Pepsi factory, just down the road from my house, really, and that was an example of what we could offer in terms of the cost of doing business, our support, and the availability of people was.
So how does the city put that out to let them know it's available?
I mean, there are a number of channels. We have a dedicated website, Invest in Miramichi, that speaks to all of the opportunities for commercial and housing development. Now we're working closely, of course, with our regional neighbors through the municipal reform. Economic development is now part of the Service Commission's responsibilities as well. So there are folks that are working, Krista Chase and her team down at the Service Commission, along with the city's economic development team. But they're going to trade shows. There's an element of us being out there, including, of course, my job, but also making sure that people know what we can offer when they're doing their searches and their research. But I'll tell you, Rob, economic development right now, over the last 5 years and into the future, it's less about proactively recruiting, say, a Wendy's or something, And it's a lot more focused on attracting the labor force, because we can't attract new business if we don't have the workers here to fill the jobs. So the big focus is really on attracting the workers, retaining the workers in priority sectors like industrial fabrication, construction, healthcare, and of course, again, the housing. So it's not the traditional what it used to be 20 years ago.
Right.
It's really focused on attracting people.
Now we're going to put a little bit of reflection from the sun. So you're going to take this brush.
Okay. Oh, take that one. Okay.
Yeah, just use the same
Thank
one
you.
line.
We're sharing.
Just put a white line down the middle.
Okay.
Use the corner of the brush.
It looks like an audio wave file, what you've got there.
So just put a white line down the middle.
Yep.
And then you're just going to take your brush and sort of make it have some lines. Oh, now see how fat they are? You want to turn your brush sideways.
Oh.
Make the lines really skinny.
Well,
That's all right.
they're getting skinnier.
Yeah, so you want to start out skinny at the top, get fat in the middle a bit. Now this brush has some color in it, so that's going to mess me up, but that's all right. That's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what's going on here, Rob. So
Yeah.
this is going to be the water or something maybe,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
reflection.
So we're going to fix up take some orange paint with the same brush, and we're going to, so one thing, I noticed that a lot of people are working from home, but the government's talking about bringing people back to work now. We got the federal buildings and stuff here. It's almost better if they're working from home with the bridge going to be closed down at this point, you would think, for our infrastructure kind of stuff.
Well, I think for a time, for the summer, we'll encourage people to work from home, or the federal government has offices on both sides of the river, right? So maybe even if someone lives in Douglastown and they normally report to the Chatham side, maybe they can report to the Douglastown side, right? We're not necessarily going to tell people how to run their business or run their office, but we're just going to be making sure people are aware that the realities of the disruption that is going to take place. You are seeing
You're
people.
going to blend your orange into the white to sort of narrow this white out so you can make it a little nicer.
Okay.
Now your brush, see how you got it up like this?
Yeah.
Turn your brush at an angle, so you're just hitting the little tiny edge of your brush.
Just the edge.
Yeah. And keep it straight with your horizon line, as straight as you can keep it. So now you've got a sun reflection. Pull this tape off. You start to see a bit of a reflection happening there.
Okay.
And then I'm going to bring my white edge just a little bit closer to the sun itself.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Nothing to it.
This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it makes it just a light, easy painting. Then we're going to take...
I should fill in a little white as well, do you think, Rob?
Yeah. Bring a little bit up right to
the top?
the edge of the shore, so it looks like it hits
I'll
the
make
shore and
sure
start blending
I
down.
am using the proper technique. Oh, see, now I've got that smaller line thing figured out.
Change to a fan brush.
Yeah, you've...
Thinner, made it easier for you.
Yeah, there we go.
So you can use that fan brush or this brush, and we're going to add a little bit of white cloud at the top, sort of blend it in a bit.
White cloud, all right.
Yeah. So all we do is add a little white, and then just fade it out a bit. And then take the white itself, and on the edge of whatever blot we got there, put it in and just sort of highlight some of that white cloud. Now the underneath part, just gonna grab your brush here, we want the cloud to sort of fade into the sky. So we clean out our brush, and we're gonna take and pull that cloud and just blend it into the sky. Pull it down, blend it out.
Blend it out, all right.
So we don't see the brush edges.
Just a little...
Yeah, just dab it on this
Just a
after you
little
wet it,
one.
so
Okay.
it's not too wet, or you'll pull off all the orange, and it'll turn into a
don't want
big
to do
mess.
that.
Yeah.
Oops, I might have been a little heavy-handed there, Rob.
Might be a little bit too wet.
It's looking like an aggressive jack-o'-lantern at this moment.
Yeah.
Look, I've inadvertently created eyes.
There you go. So we don't want to put a lot of color there. We want to impasto the front, so we'll grab some thick chunks of paint down here in the water part. We're going to actually start adding just yellow on one side, but we're not going to add it to the sky until our brush is cleaned out here. So it's really thick color, and then with what's left in the brush, we put just a little bit in the sky. welcome back to McGowan's Canvas Miracles. Adam, your painting's looking great. See?
Thank
Didn't even know
you.
where you were going.
Thank you. I mean, I will give you credit for helping me a little
We're
bit.
gonna start adding a few little
in between
details just to make it a little bit interesting here. We maybe you can talk about some of the highlights of last year and going forward, our 30th anniversary, and
Yeah.
what you'd like to see happen.
Yeah, well, you know, it was an exciting year last year in the city. You know, again, there's always challenges and things we have to address, but there's a lot of great things that happen in Miramichi all the time too, and a lot of, by the way, great community-minded volunteers who help make that happen. So, you know, if you look back at last year, we had the big eclipse event. Remember, it seems like it was so long ago already, but we were one of the best places in the whole world to see that total eclipse, and you know, Miramichiers wanted to see this, and we welcomed thousands of people from across North America and the world too to our community to watch it. So that was a really proud moment for us, I think, opening our doors to the world and doing a great job of hosting. Oh, I'm gonna use that one, eh?
Sure. So when you go up, you're just gonna pull up, keeping it edge sharp to make some grass. You can do a couple sideways
You know,
like this.
when you mentioned the grass at the beginning, in my mind it was going to be green, but now I see where we're going with this.
Yeah, so you just, and then you can dot a few parts of it just to create some sort of flowered edge. Just move your brush around, creates a shrubbery kind of thing. Real simple.
There we go. And you know,
So put some black on her.
like
And
here,
always flatten it out so
Okay.
that, so you take your brush and always sort of clean it out so that you're working with a nice
too much,
flat
a
brush.
little heavy-handed, eh?
Yeah, and then just pull it up lightly and start creating grass so you get a nice feel for it. There you go. You can turn your brush sideways, put a couple strokes in where you get full strokes, like flat this way too.
This way.
Nope. See if you're turning it like this way here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you just keep adding some paint and some lines and just play with putting some grass in. And then you're just gonna sort of dot around, turn your brush, put a few dots here and there. Just like that. And you'll start to see all of a sudden you got a sort of shrubbery going on. Yeah. Now don't go too crazy. Just a few dots. So if you're doing it here, so if we go this side, so you put a couple of lines, real quick, grass like that, then a couple of dots around. Keeping my brush in the same direction, the up and down stroke, if I put the dots in. Just looks like a little light grass happening there.
I mean, you make it sound easy, Rob, but it's not quite as easy as it sounds, I will say. But
Well, consider it's your first time. It's going great. I mean, you could get really fancy. You don't have to, but you could say, let's say we could put a little bird in here. We could put a little beak, a little round head, maybe a long gooseneck coming down to some kind of a body.
geez, now you're just getting crazy here, Rob.
You don't have to add the bird.
Do we
but,
have? Well, I'm gonna try. You know, I'm always
just
I'm
something,
always down to try.
have some fun with it. Nothing really hard. Add a little reflection of the bird, maybe like this.
Oh.
Simple as that. Just a little bird in the water, a little crane or something.
So yeah, you were mentioning, Rob, so this year is the city's 30th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're really excited to celebrate that. 30 years we've, you know, kind of been all united together.
Yeah.
The communities around the bigger city. And we've accomplished a lot together. And you know, it's in many ways, we're at a maybe the most exciting moment of the city in that we're growing again, you know, and there's so many opportunities in front of us. But over the year, we're going to be celebrating in a number of ways, including we're going to be giving out this year, and for the first time since I've been there, the Freeman of the City Awards, which is the highest honor the city can bestow upon citizens.
Okay.
And
so give me an example of who would receive something like that.
So in the past, folks like Judy and Gerard Lozier have received this.
Okay.
Frank McKenna, Kevin Vickers, the religious hospitals of Mount St. Joseph. So for people who have significant contributions to building the community. So we'll be putting out a public call for people to nominate fellow Miramichiers for that. It's been a few years since it's been awarded, so I'm sure there's lots of great people out there. that would fit the bill.
Okay.
And that's just one of the ways that we'll celebrate, along with commemorating the 200th anniversary of the Great Miramichi Fire as well.
Yeah, so how are we going to commemorate that?
Well,
the
I
fire?
don't know. I'm sure you're aware of Sean McCarthy. He's kind of leading some efforts on commemorations. The city's economic development team are supporting that. So I would, perhaps you could have Sean on to do some painting with you, and he could sort of give you the details.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
I think they're just working on them now, but that was a significant moment in our community, and one that's going to be commemorated throughout the year.
Well, this is a
You just
stipple
added
brush.
this-
If you want to, yeah, I'm just throwing some stuff in.
The tree,
Yeah, a little brush here and there. Look,
I
add a
think-
few leaves to it.
My tree looks like a stick figure.
Yeah, whenever that happens, take the stipple brush, dab a couple spots on it, throw some leaves in.
There, look
Hide
at
it
that.
up
Some
before you know it.
dabs will fix anything,
Oh
eh,
yeah,
Rob?
it's a silhouette in the shadow, so
There you go.
can't get much simpler than that. Now, if you did want to make it, sort of green in the foreground, you take some of this yellow and add it in, and guess what happens? The black starts to get a little bit of green, and some details happening.
It's amazing, eh? The layers of it.
Yeah, acrylics and paintings is all about layers, and just like politics and what you guys do, there's so much, everybody sees one thing and gets a generalized opinion and don't realize there's so many connections to everything you guys do.
And you can't rush it.
No.
Things take time, whether it's painting or community building, I guess.
True. And I'm sure you guys get so many people coming in asking for different things, and making the choice of what are we actually going to get behind and do it's got to be difficult as well.
Well, that I go back to my comment earlier. It's really important to have like a vision for where the community needs to go, and a plan to get there. And plans are really important to be able to create sustained forward progress. But you do need to be open-minded sometimes that circumstances change and the plans need to change. But when you have that guiding overall vision and plan, then anything that comes to you, you can sort of say, does this fit in with where we're trying to go? And if it does, you can build it in, take advantage of those opportunities and ideas. And when it doesn't, you might say, not to say that that's a bad idea, but it's not aligned with where we know we need to go.
Okay.
So you got to always stay open-minded to things. And the other thing too is that the city shouldn't try to do everything themselves, but we can also work with people and empower them. So if there are, community-minded people or organizations or groups, and there's so many of them in Miramichi that make things happen.
Yeah.
When they've got an idea and they want to do it, then we've got to support them, because we can't do everything, but the more people are working together, the more we can accomplish together too, right?
Oh, for sure. Now, personal note, I gotta ask you. And one thing about Miramichi, I don't know, is our arts. We don't seem to have, you go to every city, we have galleries, we have places. We don't really have much in the way of, we have Carrefour Beausoleil has some in it, a bit of a center there, but what do they do as far as helping open up the arts in Miramichi?
Well, the arts are
very
really
close.
important to me too, Rob. As you know, I've made my career in the arts as a film producer and director and writer. And there's in many ways, I absolutely agree with you, but in many ways we do have a really vibrant artistic community too, right? So in my world, we've seen a couple of different TV shows produced here over the last couple of years. We did the Brit Out of Water show with James Mollinger, Jimmy McKinley, and a lot of folks have done the O'Donoghue's show that they're now going to do another season of. We never saw a development like that. Of course, we had Amazing Race here last year.
Yep.
That was really exciting. And so that's the most watched show in Canada, and we had an entire hour showcasing our beautiful community. And the artistic gallery at Carrefour Beausoleil, to me, Carrefour Beausoleil is the hub of arts in Miramichi, the beautiful theater facility, the art gallery, and they're always bringing in interesting things. Obviously losing the Vogue was a huge loss as a venue. I know there's different groups that are involved in different endeavors, like Sean. There's playwrights, they're writing plays, telling Miramichi history, and a couple of different theater groups in the community that do that. Yeah. So, it's one of those things where
Sean's a great guy.
There could be more, but often there's more than people think there is. And so I think if you're looking for,
well, I'm thinking like a center of some kind, an arts center. So I was down in Nova Scotia, and there was a creative center there. They had where they people come in. They take artists from the community, and now they work in this center, and they're teaching people in the community arts and passing on painting, passing on weaving, all kinds of different things. Our indigenous community, but we don't really have a center hub for learning art here in Miramichi.
A big center. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I think that would be something that I think we'd all love to see. Certainly, I think the multiplex is going to become a hub for community in every sense of the word. So there'll be a lot of space available there where people could coordinate classes for art and anything else they'd like to do. So I think that will provide us a real central hub for arts along with sports and wellness, and really anything to do with the community. That will become the new central hub, I think, of all rec and arts in Miramichi. And but those spaces would probably exist elsewhere too. So and again, if they're the Logie House, for example, you know, the Logie House is a cultural and artistic center. You know, they've not been as active, I think, in recent years as they could be. But that would be a great example of maybe some folks would want to get involved on their board and renew that place too as a hub.
Yeah, I remember Sean and them, they did a dinner walkthrough thing last year, kind of trying to get that going. And we had the Headless Nun thing for a while.
Yes.
And different things
They
people
do that
have tried.
one every year, and I've gone to it a couple of times recently, and it's a great show too. So, you know, again, there can always be more,
Something
and
to add to the
it's up to
story,
the
yeah.
community to sort of bring those things forward. But I think there actually is a lot of artistic endeavors that take place, and you know, remember, she's always had a good, you know, we've been known for storytelling certainly, and knowing how to put on a show and a party. So. We've got those roots for a long time.
Yeah, and we have the oldest music festival and all kinds of things with Susan Butler and them.
That's
and
right.
way
The
they've
longest, the oldest folk song festival in North America. Yeah.
And I know they've been working on a downtown sort of music festival. They're doing more in the falls each year now too. So we're growing as a city. Yeah, I do want to see a gallery of some kind or something, a center. Eventually, we'll talk about that in the future.
Yes, but
I
think the multiplex will be a great opportunity there, Rob. And if you've got ideas, you know, like we'll certainly do everything we can to help bring them to life.
Sure, that'd be awesome. And yeah, and the TV shows and the writing, and we have so much talent here. And also the community college has got, you know, all the people that are there learning new stuff and growing into our community and keeping it here. So everything you're doing seems to be great.
Thank you.
Over years, I like the parks, I like the different hubs, and I think sometimes city council and people get a hard time because people want progress instantly, and it's a long process, and money has to come from all different places, and it's hard to get it all done. So
look, you're right, and I am one of those people too. You know, I want progress instantly, and you know, you want things always. I'm one of those people too. We want it to happen sooner or as soon as possible, but I've learned in this job that things take time. You've got to build those collaborations. You've got to put that funding together. But over time now, 9 years in, you can see that when that happens, it takes longer than you want it to, but it does happen if there are a lot of people working together and rowing in the right direction. And you know, so I appreciate your comments, but certainly in my perspective, I've not done anything myself, but I've been a part with many other people of helping how a lot of good things happen, and hopefully we're going to keep doing that, you know?
So for the multiplex for sure, is there any other project that you're really excited that you want to tell people about that's coming up in the new year? Or?
Well, I mean, the growth plan, I mentioned that as well. So it's really a plan that'll be a 10 to 20 year plan that will sort of guide in a strategic, proactive way the development of the city. So we talk about all these hundreds of new housing units that we know we're going to need and build in the next few years. This growth plan will sort of earmark the areas of the city where that should happen. And it will direct the city's investment in new infrastructure like water and sewer pipes and things like that. But this year coming up, you know, we're also, last year's project, it'll be ready by the summer dance season. Of course, a new big stage and dancing facility at Ritchie Wharf. So
a new stage?
A new stage,
oh,
yeah. So we have multi-phase plans for the renewal of the Ritchie Wharf waterfront and Waterford Green area in Chatham too. And the stage, you know, the present area,
right.
every night in the summer, as you probably know, hundreds of seniors gather, and there's music and dancing, and the place was sort of in need of a new dance floor, but we did a proper vision and realized we could also have it better designed for the performances and the events and activities that happen there, the dancing every night and other things. So that stage is going up now. The seniors, who, when they saw the design, they loved it, and it'll be ready, that area, with the new stage and the new dance floor for this summer's dancing season. So that's another exciting project as well.
That's awesome. Well, what do you think of your picture there?
Well,
what would you like to change or fix, or do you like it the way it is?
I think it's pretty good. You know, I'm pretty satisfied as a first timer.
Yeah,
it's harder than it looks. You know, it's a skill. So credit to people like you who can do things like this. But you know, maybe the only thing, the tree, I couldn't quite get to where you were. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
This is just a basic, you know, with a knife and a couple of brushes, you can put something together. Now imagine when you take time to work on something, work on the details, and spend some time. We have courses and people come in. Remember, I'm doing fantastic. We have so many people now taking art courses here. It's blowing my mind. Like I'm surprised at how many. I have 30 students a month just coming in for full-time courses. It's crazy.
So this takes us an hour.
Yes.
How long does one of these take?
Oh, we won't go there, but some of them can take. A painting can take anywhere from 3 hours to 40 hours. It just depends on how much work you want to put in, the details. And we do a course, so it's a weekly course where they come in for an hour and a half for 4 weeks in a row. So it ends up they work 7 hours on a painting, and they do a beautiful painting over that. And then we have full day courses where they come in for 6 or 7 hours, have lunch, and learn the techniques. But it's all a matter, it's like anything in life. It's getting that out of your head thing that I can't do this.
Letting go.
Yeah, saying, okay, I can't do this. And we have lots of techniques for that. So it's good fun. And watching people realize I can do stuff if I put my mind into it and our heart into it. So more of that in Miramichi. The more we can open up this place and New Brunswick to get people here and realize how beautiful it is here.
Absolutely.
My girlfriend's always saying, let's go for we're going to go on a trip somewhere or do this thing. I'm like, why? I haven't seen it all here yet. Yeah. There's lots to see, so much.
Well, and I mean, this was a great painting choice for us because I love being outdoors. Miramichi, you know, when we promote ourselves for our quality of life and for tourism, we're known as Atlantic Canada's great outdoors, and we just have so much natural beauty with the river and French Fork Cove, and you know the upriver with all the different opportunities for canoeing and tubing, and of course Kishimilquack National Park, one of the most beautiful beaches in the country, is just a half hour down the road. Yeah. So anytime I can be out in nature, it's a good day, you know. And I know you're the same way. I'm just waiting. I
never miss the river. Every morning I'm out there. So
I'm not the biggest winter guy, but I find myself right now hoping and wishing for the snow so I can get out to the beautiful cross-country ski club. I love cross-country skiing in the winter.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. Yeah, I got to get out there.
We don't have enough snow yet to do it.
I want to thank you for joining us today on McGowan's Canvas Miracles. Tune in every week to find out what's going on in your city and with important people around us, and how we can make a difference. Every day, go out and be the change you want to see in the world.